Human boy bitten by a beast while defending a wounded alien girl, so the alien chief. The royal palace of Ethoria gleamed like a diamond against the amber sky, its crystalline spires reaching toward the twin stars that bathed the alien world in perpetual twilight. Behind those magnificent walls, 12-year-old Princess Elia of House Bitten paced her chambers, her luminous blue skin catching the light with each restless movement. Another day trapped inside, she whispered to herself, her large sapphire eyes fixed on the world beyond her window. The royal gardens stretched toward the city walls, and beyond them lay the wilderness, untamed, unexplored, and forbidden. Elia's slender fingers traced the intricate silver patterns adorning her gown. The traditional markings of House Bitten, the most powerful family on Ethoria, seemed to weigh heavier on her shoulders with each passing day. At 14 cycles, she was old enough to begin her royal training, but too young to venture beyond the palace unescorted. "Just once," she murmured, her snow-white hair falling across her face as she leaned against the window. "Just once, I want to see what lies beyond." Decision made, she slipped a simple cloak over her royal attire and navigated the secret passages she discovered during years of curious exploration. The guards never noticed the small blue figure darting between shadows, and soon she was beyond the palace walls, heart racing with exhilaration. The forest beyond the city was nothing like the manicured gardens she knew. Strange plants pulsed with bioluminescence, and creatures she'd only seen in holograms darted between the foliage. Elia wandered deeper, entranced by the wild beauty surrounding her. Hours passed before she realized how far she'd ventured. The twin suns were sinking lower, casting long shadows through the trees. A sense of unease crept over her as unfamiliar sounds echoed through the darkening forest. Then she heard it, a low rumbling growl that made her blood freeze. Turning slowly, Elia found herself facing a massive beast, its 6 eyes fixed on her with predatory intent. The Nargath, most feared predator of Ethoria's wilderness, had caught her scent. Elia backed away slowly, but the creature lunged. She screamed, stumbling backward as its massive claws slashed through her gown, leaving shallow cuts across her blue skin. From nowhere, a battle cry split the air, raw, primal, and unmistakably human. A thin figure hurled itself between Elia and the beast, a boy no older than herself, wielding a crude spear. His tousled chestnut hair was matted with sweat, and his battle armor, clearly salvaged from some ancient human wreckage, hung loosely on his slender frame. "Run!" he shouted, not taking his eyes off the Nargath. "Back to the city!" The beast roared in fury, lunging at this new threat. The human boy dodged with surprising agility, driving his spear into the creature's flank. The Nargath howled, its massive jaws snapping at the boy's arm. Elia watched in horror as those terrible teeth sank into human flesh. Blood, red, not the indigo of her people, splattered across the forest floor. Yet the boy didn't falter. With a pained grunt, he twisted the spear deeper, forcing the beast to release him. "I said run!" he shouted again, his voice strained with pain. This time Elia obeyed, but not before grabbing the boy's free hand. Together they fled through the forest, the wounded Nargath pursuing with relentless determination. The city walls appeared through the trees, and Elia's heart soared at the sight of royal guards patrolling the perimeter. "Help!" she cried out, her royal voice carrying the authority she'd been born with. The guards responded instantly, rushing forward with energy weapons drawn. The Nargath, faced with superior numbers, retreated into the forest with a final, frustrated roar. Safe within the city walls, Elia finally turned to her savior. The human boy swayed on his feet, blood streaming from deep puncture wounds on his thin arms. His eyes, a startling green against his tan skin, were clouded with pain but remained defiant. "You're hurt," she said, reaching toward him with trembling hands. "I've had worse," he replied, though his voice betrayed the lie. "You should be more careful, princess." Elia's eyes widened. "How did you—" "Everyone knows the blue-skinned girl with white hair is the princess," he said with a weak smile. "Not many of your kind running around outside the palace." Before she could respond, the guards surrounded them, their expressions shifting from concern to suspicion as they regarded the human boy. "Princess Elia, you've been missed at the palace," said the captain, his tone carefully neutral. "And you've brought a guest." "He saved my life," Elia declared, straightening to her full height. "He fought a Nargath to protect me." The guards exchanged glances, clearly uncertain how to proceed with a human child who had apparently rescued their princess. "What's your name, boy?" the captain asked. "Finn," he replied, wincing as he tried to stem the bleeding from his arm. "Just Finn." "He needs medical attention," Elia insisted, "and my father must know what he did for me today." The captain nodded reluctantly. "Very well, princess. We'll escort you both to the palace." As they walked through the city streets, Elia noticed how Finn's eyes darted everywhere, taking in the alien architecture with undisguised wonder. Despite his injuries, there was a resilience about him that she found fascinating. "Where are your parents?" she asked quietly. Finn's expression hardened. "Don't have any, not anymore. The crash took them 3 years ago. I've been on my own since." "The crash? You mean humans have visited Ethoria before?" "Not exactly visiting when you can't leave," Finn replied with a bitter smile. "Our ship malfunctioned. I was the only survivor." Elia's heart ached for him. "You've been alone in the wilderness all this time?" Finn shrugged his uninjured shoulder. "You adapt or you die. That's what my father always said." As they approached the palace gates, Elia saw her father waiting, his imposing figure framed by the massive doorway. Chief Talon of House Bitten, ruler of all Ethoria, fixed his daughter with a stern gaze that softened as he noticed her torn clothing and the scratches on her skin. Then his eyes fell on Finn, and something unreadable passed across his regal features. Chief Talon's imposing figure cast a long shadow across the palace entrance hall. His deep, thoughtful eyes studied the human boy with an intensity that made even the royal guards shift uncomfortably. The silence stretched until Elia could bear it no longer. "Father," she began, stepping forward, "this human saved my life. He fought a Nargath with nothing but a crude spear to protect me." Talon's gaze shifted to his daughter, his expression softening slightly. "And why, daughter? Were you beyond the city walls without escort?" Elia's blue skin darkened with embarrassment. I wanted to explore. It was foolish, father. I know that now." "Indeed." The chief's attention returned to Finn, who stood tall despite his injuries, meeting the alien ruler's gaze without flinching. "You have courage, human child. Few of our warriors would face a Nargath with such primitive weapons." "I did what anyone would do," Finn replied, his voice steady, despite the pain evident in his eyes. A murmur rippled through the assembled court officials. The humans' directness in addressing their ruler was unprecedented. "Not anyone," Talon corrected. "Tell me, what is your name and lineage?" "Finn. My parents were Dr. Marcus and Dr. Elena Reeves. Our research vessel crashed here 3 years ago. I'm the only survivor." Talon's eyes widened slightly. "The human craft that fell in the Eastern Territories. We sent search parties, but found only wreckage." "I dragged myself away," Finn explained, his voice flat. "Learned to survive, built shelter near the crash site, salvaged what I could. For 3 years? Alone?" The chief's voice held a note of disbelief. "Humans are adaptable," Finn said simply. Talon descended the steps, approaching Finn with measured strides. The court watched in stunned silence as their ruler circled the human boy, examining him as one might a rare artifact. "You're injured," Talon observed, noting the blood still seeping from the Nargath's bite marks. "It's nothing," Finn insisted, though he swayed slightly on his feet. "Father," Elia interjected, "he needs medical attention. The Nargath's bite." "Yes, of course." Talon gestured to his personal healer, who hurried forward. "Tend to his wounds." As the healer approached with a medical scanner, Finn tensed, his hand instinctively moving to the crude knife at his belt. "It's all right," Elia assured him. "They're just going to help you." Finn relaxed marginally, allowing the healer to examine his injuries. The scanner hummed, projecting holographic images of the damage beneath his skin. "The venom has already entered his bloodstream," the healer reported, "but his physiology, it's fascinating. His body is already neutralizing the toxins. I've never seen anything like it." "Humans have robust immune systems," Finn explained, wincing as the healer applied a regenerative gel to his wounds. "My father taught me about Nargath venom. I've been building immunity with small doses." Talon's expression shifted from curiosity to something approaching respect. "You deliberately exposed yourself to one of our deadliest venoms?" "Knowledge is survival," Finn replied. The chief turned away, pacing the hall with his hands clasped behind his back. The court waited in tense silence, all eyes following their ruler's deliberations. Finally, Talon turned. "Where will you go now, Finn of Earth?" The boy shrugged his uninjured shoulder. "Back to my shelter, I suppose." "And if I offered you another option?" Elia's breath caught. Surely her father couldn't be considering. "What option?" Finn asked cautiously. "You saved my daughter at great risk to yourself. You've survived alone in hostile territory that challenges even our most seasoned warriors. You've shown intelligence, resourcefulness, and courage beyond your years." Talon's voice carried throughout the hall. "Such qualities should not be left to waste in the wilderness." The court erupted in whispers. Elia felt her heart racing with sudden hope. "I propose to adopt you into House Bitten," Talon announced, "to raise you as my son, alongside my daughter." The whispers became outright exclamations. Several court officials stepped forward in protest, but fell silent at Talon's raised hand. "Chief," the most senior advisor ventured, "with all respect, this is unprecedented. A human as part of the royal house." "Many things are unprecedented until they happen, Advisor Malus," Talon replied smoothly. "The universe evolves through unprecedented actions. But the political implications will be addressed," Talon finished firmly. "This boy has earned a place among us through actions, not birth. Is that not the foundation of our own traditions?" The advisor bowed reluctantly. "As you wish, Chief." Talon turned back to Finn, who stood frozen in apparent shock. "The choice is yours, Finn of Earth. You may return to your solitude or join our house as my son." Finn looked from Talon to Elia, whose sapphire eyes shone with barely contained excitement. For the first time since entering the palace, uncertainty crossed his face. "Why?" he asked simply. Talon smiled, a rare expression that transformed his austere features. "Because courage deserves recognition, because talent deserves nurturing, because a child deserves a family." He paused. "And because I believe you are meant for greater things than mere survival." Finn swallowed hard, blinking rapidly. I accept your offer, Chief Talon." Talon placed his hands on Finn's shoulders, mindful of his injuries. "Then from this day forward, you shall be known as Finn Bitten, son of House Bitten and heir to its traditions." Elia couldn't contain herself any longer. She rushed forward, embracing Finn with such enthusiasm that he gasped in pain. "Sorry," she exclaimed, pulling back with a sheepish smile. "But you're going to be my brother." "Stepbrother," Finn corrected, a small smile finally breaking through his stoic expression. "Details," Elia waved dismissively. "Oh, I have so much to show you. The libraries, the gardens, the training grounds." "Perhaps," Talon interrupted gently, "we should allow Finn to rest and heal first. There will be time enough for exploration later." As the court dispersed, still buzzing with the unprecedented news, Talon guided his newly expanded family toward the private royal quarters. Finn walked beside him, his posture gradually relaxing as the reality of his new situation began to sink in. "You won't regret this decision, Chief Talon," he said quietly. "I know I won't," Talon replied. "And please, when we are in private, you may call me father." For the first time since entering the palace, Finn's composure cracked completely. A single tear traced down his cheek, quickly wiped away. "Thank you, Father." The training arena echoed with the clash of energy blades and the grunts of exertion. Two figures moved in perfect synchronicity, their weapons tracing luminous arcs through the air. One fighter, tall and powerfully built with tanned skin and chestnut hair, parried a thrust from his opponent, a lithe, blue-skinned warrior whose snow-white hair flowed like liquid silver with each movement. "You're telegraphing your attacks again, Elia," Finn said, a teasing smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Am I?" Elia feinted left, then spun right with blinding speed, her blade stopping mere inches from Finn's throat. "Or am I simply letting you think that?" For a heartbeat, they remained frozen in that position, eyes locked. At 22, Finn Bitten had grown into his human heritage with impressive results. The scrawny boy was now a man of imposing physique, his body hardened by years of Ithorian combat training. The scars on his arms from the Nargath's bite had faded to silvery lines that somehow enhanced rather than marred his appearance. Elia, now 24, had blossomed into the most sought-after woman in the kingdom, Her royal blue skin seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and her graceful movements spoke of both power and elegance. "I yield," Finn said with a mock bow, stepping back from her blade. "As you should," Elia replied, deactivating her weapon with a flourish. "That's 3 matches to 2. You're buying the refreshments." They walked together toward the edge of the training arena, their shoulders occasionally brushing in a way that sent a current of awareness through them both. 10 years of growing up together had created a bond that defied simple categorization. They were family, yet not related by blood. Friends, yet something more intense simmered beneath the surface. "The Solstice Festival begins tomorrow," Ilya said casually, accepting a towel from an attendant. "Father expects us both to attend the opening ceremony." "Of course," Finn replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "Though I suspect I'll be spending most of my time fending off more marriage proposals from the noble houses." Ilya's laugh held a brittle edge. "Poor Finn, the most eligible bachelor in Ethoria, pursued relentlessly by every family with a daughter of marriageable age? You're one to talk. How many suitors has Chief Talon turned away this month alone?" 17, she admitted with a grimace, each more pompous than the last. They fell into comfortable silence as they made their way through the palace corridors. Servants and nobles alike bowed respectfully as they passed, though Finn didn't miss the occasional disapproving glance from the more conservative court members. Even after a decade, some still viewed the human in their midst with suspicion. "Do you ever think about it?" Ilya asked suddenly as they reached the private royal gardens. "About what?" "Marriage, finding a partner, starting a family." Finn's stride faltered almost imperceptibly. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but it's complicated." "Because you're human." "Partly." He sat on a stone bench beneath a flowering tree whose blossoms emitted a subtle, intoxicating fragrance. "There aren't exactly many humans to choose from on Ethoria." Elia sat beside him, closer than protocol strictly dictated. "And if there were, would you choose one of your own kind?" The question hung between them, weighted with unspoken implications. "I don't know," Finn answered honestly. "I've spent more of my life among Ethorians than humans. Sometimes I forget I'm different until I catch my reflection." Elia's hand moved to cover his, her blue fingers contrasting starkly against his tan skin. "You're not different to me. You're just Finn." He turned to face her, suddenly aware of how the garden's amber light played across her features, highlighting the delicate curve of her cheek, the fullness of her lips. "Elia, Princess Elia, Prince Finn." A royal messenger hurried into the garden, bowing hastily. "Chief Talon requests your immediate presence in the council chamber." The moment shattered. Finn stood, his expression shifting to the composed mask he wore for official business. "Did he say why?" "A delegation has arrived from the Mavic Confederation, Your Highness." Unexpectedly, Elia's eyes widened. "The Mavics? They haven't sent representatives in over a century." "We shouldn't keep Father waiting," Finn said, already moving toward the palace. As they hurried through the corridors, Elia caught Finn's arm. "We'll continue our conversation later," she said, her voice low and tinged with something that made Finn's pulse quicken. "Yes," he agreed, "we will." The council chamber hummed with tension when they arrived. Chief Talon sat on his ceremonial throne, his expression grave as he conversed with 3 tall, gaunt figures whose gray skin seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. The Mavic delegates turned as Finn and Elia entered, their pupil-less white eyes widening slightly at the sight of the human. "Ah, my children," Talon said, gesturing them forward. "Ambassador Neth, may I present Princess Elia and Prince Finn of House Bitten." The lead Mavic inclined his head in a minimal gesture of respect. "The princess's beauty is as renowned as her wisdom," he said in a voice like dry leaves rustling. His gaze lingered on Finn. "And the human prince, your reputation precedes you as well." "Ambassador," Finn replied with a formal bow, "Ethoria welcomes the Mavic Confederation." "Indeed," Neth said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "We come bearing news that concerns all worlds in this sector, including your adopted home." Talon gestured for everyone to be seated. "The ambassador brings troubling reports of increased Krell activity near the Veil Nebula." Finn felt a chill run down his spine. The Krell, a race of insectoid conquerors, were the stuff of nightmares. even in the stories he'd heard as a child on Earth. Their hive ships consumed everything in their path, leaving only barren husks of planets behind. They've breached the Carillon defense line, Neth continued. 3 systems have already fallen. Our projections suggest they will reach Ithorian space within 6 lunar cycles. 6 cycles? Elia's voice was steady, but Finn could sense her alarm. That's barely enough time to prepare our defenses. The Confederation proposes an alliance, Neth said. Combined forces stand a better chance against the Krell swarm. At what cost? Finn asked, earning a sharp look from one of the other Mavic delegates. Ambassador Neth's lipless mouth curved in what might have been a smile. Perceptive for a human. Yes, there would be conditions to our assistance. As the diplomatic discussion continued, Finn felt Elia's hand find his beneath the table, their fingers intertwining out of sight of the others. Whatever was developing between them would have to wait. A greater threat loomed on the horizon, one that would test not only their feelings for each other, but the very survival of their world. Absolutely not, Finn's voice echoed through the private royal chambers, his fist slamming against the ornate table. You can't seriously be considering this, Father. Chief Talon remained impassive, his weathered blue features revealing nothing of his inner thoughts. The Mavic proposal offers protection for our people. At the cost of Elia's freedom? Finn paced the room like a caged predator. They want her to marry their High Commander's son to seal the alliance. This isn't diplomacy, it's extortion. It is the way of interstellar politics, Talon replied. Unions between royal houses have secured peace for millennia. Elia, who had remained silent throughout the heated exchange, finally spoke. What are the terms of this arrangement? Ambassador Neth, standing near the chamber's entrance, stepped forward with a thin smile. Princess Elia would be joined with Commander Vex's heir, Saren. The ceremony would take place before the next lunar alignment, approximately 14 days from now. 14 days? Finn's incredulous gaze darted between Neth and Talon. That's barely enough time for preparations, let alone consideration. The Krell do not wait while we deliberate, Neth replied coldly. Each day brings them closer to your borders. Elia rose gracefully, her royal composure masking the turmoil Finn knew she must be feeling. I would like to speak with my father and brother alone, Ambassador. Neth bowed, though his pupilless eyes lingered on Finn with something akin to calculation. Of course, Princess. We await your family's wise decision. When the chamber doors closed behind the Mavic delegation, Elia's composure cracked. Father, there must be another way. Talon sighed heavily, suddenly looking every cycle of his considerable age. The Mavics possess technology far beyond our own. Their defensive capabilities could mean the difference between survival and extinction when the Krell arrive. And you trust them? Finn asked, his instincts screaming warnings he couldn't yet articulate. Something about this feels wrong. Your human intuition? Talon asked, not unkindly. Call it what you will. The timing is too convenient. The Krell threat emerges, and suddenly the Mavics appear offering salvation, at the price of binding our royal house to theirs. Elia moved to Finn's side, her hand finding his. I share Finn's concerns, Father. Why now, after a century of isolation? And why such urgency for the marriage? Talon studied his children thoughtfully. Your points have merit, yet we cannot dismiss the Krell threat. If the Mavics speak truly about their approach, then let me investigate, Finn proposed. Give me 3 days to verify their claims before we commit to anything. How would you accomplish this? Talon asked. The old observatory in the Eastern Mountains. Its long-range scanners might detect Krell activity if they're as close as the Mavics claim. Talon nodded slowly. A reasonable precaution. Very well, you have 3 days. In the meantime, we will continue negotiations without making firm commitments. As they left the royal chambers, Elia pulled Finn into an alcove, her eyes blazing with an intensity that took his breath away. I won't marry Saren, she whispered fiercely. Not when I've only just begun to acknowledge what I truly want. Finn's heart hammered against his ribs. Elia, we shouldn't what? Speak the truth that's been between us for years. Her blue fingers traced the line of his jaw. We're not related by blood, Finn. The only barrier between us is one of convention. And politics, he added, though he made no move to step away from her touch. If you reject the Mavic alliance, Then we find another way to defeat the Krell. Her determination was absolute. I won't sacrifice my happiness, our happiness, based on Ambassador Neth's claims. Finn wanted nothing more than to pull her into his arms, to confess the feelings he'd suppressed for years. Instead, he forced himself to focus on the immediate threat. I leave for the observatory at dawn, he said. If I can prove the Mavics are lying about the Krell, then what? She challenged. What would it change between us? The question hung in the air, charged with possibility. Finn took a steadying breath. Everything, he admitted. It would change everything. That night, unable to sleep, Finn found himself wandering the palace gardens. The twin moons of Ithoria cast silver-blue light across the exotic flora, creating shadows that danced with each gentle breeze. Troubled thoughts, Prince Finn? He spun to find Ambassador Neth emerging from behind a flowering shrub, the Mavic's gaunt figure eerily illuminated by the moonlight. Ambassador, Finn acknowledged with forced politeness. It's late for diplomatic discussions. Indeed, Neth glided closer. Yet sometimes the most honest conversations happen in darkness. And what honest conversation did you have in mind? Neth's lipless mouth curved upward. I've observed your concern regarding the princess's proposed union with Saren. Perhaps we could discuss an alternative arrangement. Finn's suspicions flared. What kind of arrangement? One that might better serve all parties. Neth's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. The Mavics have studied humans extensively. Your species possesses unique qualities. Adaptability, resilience, qualities that might prove valuable against the Krell. Get to the point, Ambassador. Simply this. Your cooperation in certain scientific procedures could eliminate the need for Princess Alea's sacrifice. Finn's blood ran cold. Scientific procedures? Nothing too invasive, Neth assured him with a wave of his long-fingered hand. Merely tissue samples, genetic material. The Mavic Confederation has long theorized that human biology holds the key to weapons that could devastate the Krell hives. And if I refuse? Neth's expression hardened. Then the original terms stand. The princess weds Saren, and Ithoria receives our protection, such as it is. The implied threat wasn't lost on Finn. You speak as though your protection might be conditional. All things in the universe are conditional, Prince Finn. Neth bowed slightly. Consider my offer. We depart in 3 days' time and expect an answer before then. As the ambassador glided away, Finn remained motionless, his mind racing. The encounter confirmed his suspicions. The Mavics couldn't be trusted. But was their treachery limited to political manipulation, or was something far more sinister at play? He needed to reach the observatory. If the Krell threat was real, Ithoria would need allies. But not at the cost of surrendering Ilya to a loveless political marriage, nor himself to become some Mavic laboratory specimen. And if the threat was fabricated, then the Mavics had come to Ithoria with hidden motives that could threaten everything and everyone Finn had come to love. His path was clear. At dawn, he would begin his journey to the observatory. But first, there was someone he needed to see. Someone whose sapphire eyes had haunted his dreams for longer than he cared to admit. With newfound determination, Finn turned toward the royal quarters where Alea's chambers awaited. Whatever dangers lay ahead, he would face them knowing he had finally spoken his heart's truth. Finn stood outside Alea's chambers, his heart thundering in his chest. The corridor was deserted at this late hour, the palace guards stationed at a respectful distance. He raised his hand to knock, then hesitated, torn between duty and desire. The decision was made for him when the door slid open, revealing Alea in a simple silver nightgown that caught the ambient light like liquid moonbeams. I sensed you were here, she said softly. I've always been able to feel your presence, even as children. I'm leaving at dawn, Finn said, his voice rough with emotion. The observatory. I know. She took his hand, drawing him inside her chambers. The doors closed behind them with a soft hiss, sealing them in a private world of their own making. But tonight isn't about tomorrow's mission or the Mavics or even the Krell. Her chambers were bathed in the gentle blue glow of bioluminescent flora that lined the walls, casting everything in ethereal light. Finn had been here countless times over the years, but never like this. Never with the electric tension that now crackled between them. Neth approached me in the gardens, Finn said, forcing himself to focus on the danger at hand. He offered an alternative to your marriage. They want to study me, my human biology. For weapons research, he claimed. Elia's eyes widened. You see? They never intended a true alliance. Whatever they want from Ethoria, it involves you as much as me. All the more reason I need to reach the observatory. If I can prove the Krell threat is real but not as imminent as they claim, then we expose their deception. Elia moved closer, her scent, like night-blooming flowers with an undertone of something uniquely her, enveloping him. But if you're right about their treachery, you'll be in danger the moment you leave the palace. I've faced danger before, he reminded her with a half-smile. Not like this. Her fingers traced the faded scars on his arms, remnants of the Nargath attack that had brought them together a decade ago. Not alone. The touch of her fingers against his skin sent currents of warmth through his body. What are you suggesting? That you don't go alone. Her sapphire eyes held his with unwavering determination. We go together. Elia, no. If something happened to you, and if something happened to you, she countered, do you think I could bear it, knowing I might have prevented it? Her hand moved to his chest, resting over his heart. 10 years ago, you risked everything to save me. Let me stand with you now. Finn covered her hand with his own. Your father would never allow it. My father doesn't need to know. Not until we return with proof. The logic was sound, but Finn knew his hesitation stemmed from something deeper. The fear that once they crossed this threshold, there would be no returning to the comfortable boundaries that had defined their relationship for a decade. As if reading his thoughts, Elia stepped even closer. I'm tired of pretending, Finn. Aren't you? Tired of acting as though what's between us is merely familial affection? We were raised as siblings, he said, the words sounding hollow even to his own ears. But we've never been just siblings, have we? Her fingers traced the contour of his jaw. Not in our hearts. The last of Finn's resistance crumbled. He pulled her to him, one hand cradling the back of her head as his lips found hers. The kiss was tentative at first, then blazed into something primal and consuming. Her skin was cooler than a human's, creating an exquisite contrast against his warmth. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Elia's luminous skin had darkened to a deeper blue, the Ithorian equivalent of a blush. I've wanted to do that for years, Finn admitted. Why didn't you? She asked, her fingers tangling in his hair. Fear, duty, the knowledge that wanting you was complicated by 1,000 political realities. And now? Now I don't give a damn about any of that. He kissed her again, more deeply this time, as they moved toward her bed. What followed was a discovery of differences and similarities, an exploration of alien and human physiology united in mutual desire. Their joining was both tender and fierce, a culmination of years of unspoken longing. Afterward, they lay entwined in the tangled sheets, Elia's head resting on Finn's chest as he traced patterns along the curve of her spine. That was, she began. Different? He suggested with a smile. She laughed softly. Extraordinary. Are all humans so passionate? I wouldn't know. You're the only woman I've ever wanted. She propped herself up on one elbow, studying him with newfound wonder. Do you realize what this means for us? For Ethoria? The reality of their situation came rushing back. It means we have even more reason to expose the Mavik's deception. If they're lying about the Krell, then there's no need for a political marriage, she finished. We could be together openly. And if they're not lying, if the Krell really are coming, Elia's expression grew solemn. Then we face that threat together too, but not through their manipulations. They spent the remaining hours of darkness planning their journey to the observatory, interspersed with tender moments of rediscovery. As the first light of dawn crept through the windows, they reluctantly separated to prepare for departure. Meet me at the eastern postern gate in 1 hour, Finn said, pulling on his combat suit. Pack light. We'll travel faster that way. Elia nodded, already gathering essentials. Be careful. The Maviks may be watching you. Let them watch, Finn replied with grim determination. They'll learn what happens when you threaten what a human holds dear. He slipped from her chambers unseen, making his way to his own quarters to collect weapons and supplies. The palace was just beginning to stir, servants and guards changing shifts in the quiet hours before the court awakened. As Finn rounded a corner near the armory, a shadow detached itself from an alcove. He reacted instantly, dropping into a defensive stance, only to relax when he recognized Captain Thorn, his father's most trusted guard. "My prince," Thorn said quietly, "Chief Talon requests your presence immediately. It concerns the Mavic delegation." Finn's instincts flared. What's happened? Their secondary shuttle departed during the night, with scanning equipment. Heading where? Thorn's expression was grim. The Eastern Mountains. The observatory. The Mavics were already moving to intercept him, or worse, to destroy evidence before he could find it. "Tell my father I'm on my way," Finn said, his mind racing. He needed to warn Elia to change their plans. Whatever game the Mavics were playing, it had just become deadlier. "We need to change our plans," Finn whispered urgently as he slipped into Elia's chambers. She was dressed in practical expedition gear, her white hair tied back in a warrior's braid. "What's happened?" she asked, immediately alert. "The Mavics sent a shuttle to the observatory last night. They're trying to beat us there." Elia's eyes narrowed. "Then we must move quickly. The eastern gate will be watched." "The maintenance tunnels," Finn suggested. "They lead beyond the city walls. We can emerge near the forest edge and make our way to the mountains from there." They gathered their supplies and moved swiftly through the palace's hidden passages, pathways they'd explored as children playing elaborate games of stealth and discovery. Now those same skills might save their lives and possibly their world. Chief Talon was waiting for them at the tunnel entrance, his expression grave but unsurprised. "Father," Elia began, "we can explain—" Talon raised a hand. "There's no time. Captain Thorn has informed me of everything." He fixed his gaze on Finn. "You were right to be suspicious. Our intelligence officers intercepted communications between the Mavic shuttle and their main vessel. They're not what they claim to be." "Biological harvesters," Finn said, the pieces suddenly falling into place. "That's why Neth was so interested in studying me. The Mavics collect genetic material from species across the galaxy." "Yes," Talon confirmed. "And apparently human DNA is particularly valuable to them. Something about your adaptive immune response, especially yours, Finn. The Nargath venom you survived as a child has made you uniquely interesting to them." Ilia's hand found Finn's, squeezing tightly. "And the Krell. Are they real?" "Very real," Talon said grimly. "But the Mavics aren't fleeing from them. They're controlling them, using them as weapons to soften targets before they harvest what they need." Finn felt cold rage building inside him. They planned to sacrifice Ethoria to the Krell while taking what they wanted from us. "Precisely, which is why you must reach the observatory. The Mavics don't know we've discovered their true nature. Their shuttle is carrying equipment to amplify a signal, likely the one that directs the Krell hive ships. If we can disrupt that signal," Elia began, "we might save not just Ethoria, but countless other worlds in their path." Finn finished. Talon handed them each small communication devices. "These are encrypted to our most secure military channel. Once you reach the observatory, contact me immediately. I'll have our forces ready to move against the Mavics. But we need proof of their treachery before we can act without risking interstellar diplomatic consequences." "And if we're too late," Finn asked, "then you do whatever is necessary to stop that signal," Talon said, his voice hardening. "The fate of our world depends on it." He embraced them both, holding them tightly for a moment. "Be careful, my children. Return to me safely." The maintenance tunnels were narrow and dark, designed for utility rather than comfort. Finn led the way, his human eyes adjusting more quickly to the darkness than Elia's. They emerged an hour later at the forest edge, the twin suns just beginning their ascent into the amber sky. "The observatory is 6 hours away on foot," Finn said, orienting himself. "If we push hard, we can reach it by midday." They moved through the forest with practiced efficiency, Finn's wilderness skills complementing Elia's knowledge of Ithorian terrain. The bond they'd forged the previous night seemed to enhance their natural synchronicity, allowing them to communicate with minimal words. "Last night changed everything," Elia said during a brief rest. "I can feel it, a connection between us that wasn't there before, or perhaps it was always there, just waiting to be acknowledged." Finn brushed a strand of white hair from her face. "On Earth, there's a belief that certain souls are meant to find each other, no matter the obstacles." "Soulmates," she said, testing the unfamiliar word. "I like that concept." Even if one soul is human and one Ithorian? Especially then. She leaned forward, kissing him with a tenderness that contrasted sharply with their urgent mission. The universe brought you to me for a reason, Finn. First as my protector, then my brother, and now as your mate, he finished, the word feeling right in a way he couldn't explain. Their moment of connection was shattered by the distant whine of engines. They ducked beneath the forest canopy as a Mavic shuttle passed overhead, heading back toward the palace. They've already been to the observatory, Finn said grimly. We need to hurry. The mountain path grew steeper and more treacherous as they ascended. By midday, the ancient observatory dome came into view, its once gleaming surface now weathered by centuries of exposure to Ithoria's elements. Something's wrong, Elia whispered as they approached. The security field is down. Finn drew his energy blade, its blue glow casting eerie shadows as they entered the observatory's main chamber. The scene inside confirmed their worst fears. The observatory systems had been modified, new equipment grafted onto the ancient Ithorian technology. At the center stood a pulsing crystalline structure that emitted a low rhythmic hum. A quantum beacon, Elia breathed, her scientific training allowing her to recognize the device. They're not just signaling the Krell, they're accelerating their approach. Finn moved to the observatory's main console, activating the long-range scanners. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the surrounding star systems. What he saw made his blood run cold. The Krell aren't 6 lunar cycles away, he said, his voice tight with controlled fury. They're less than 1. The Mavics have been guiding them toward Ithoria for months. Elia joined him at the console, her fingers flying over the controls. And look at this. The Mavic's main vessel is positioned to intercept something at the edge of our system. She enhanced the image. It's a human ship, Finn, a research vessel from Earth. The revelation hit Finn like a physical blow. They're not just after Ithorian genetics. They want humans too. My parents' research vessel wasn't the first, and this new one won't be the last if we don't stop them. A soft chuckle from the observatory entrance froze them both. Clever creatures, Ambassador Neth said, flanked by 4 armed Mavic guards. We wondered how long it would take you to unravel our little deception. Long enough for you to spring your trap, apparently, Finn replied, subtly shifting to place himself between the Mavics and Elia. Neth's lipless mouth curved in a grotesque smile. Indeed, though I must thank you for saving us the trouble of extracting you from the palace. The princess is an unexpected bonus. Ithorian royal genetics will fetch a premium in our repositories. You won't touch her, Finn growled, his hand tightening on his weapon. Such primitive protectiveness, Neth observed. It's what makes humans so fascinating and so predictable. He gestured to his guards. Take them, alive, but damage is acceptable for the human. His regenerative capabilities are quite remarkable. As the guards advanced, Finn exchanged a quick glance with Elia. In that moment of silent communication, a plan formed between them, a desperate gambit born of perfect trust and the intimate knowledge of each other's capabilities. Finn lunged forward, seeming to attack recklessly, drawing the guards' attention while Elia slipped behind the main console. The Mavics fired their weapons, energy bolts sizzling past Finn as he dove and rolled with inhuman speed, the result of years training in Ithoria's higher gravity. What happened next would determine not just their fate, but the future of 2 worlds now threatened by the Mavics' insidious plot. Now! Finn shouted as he ducked beneath an energy blast. Elia's fingers flew across the observatory controls, activating the ancient defense systems. The observatory dome groaned as dormant mechanisms awakened, creating a localized energy field that momentarily disoriented the Mavics. In that crucial moment, Finn struck. Years of combat training in Ithoria's higher gravity had made him faster and stronger than any human had right to be. He launched himself at the nearest guard, his energy blade slicing through the alien's weapon before the flat of his boot connected with its chest, sending it sprawling. Impossible, Neth hissed as Finn dispatched a second guard with brutal efficiency. No human should move that quickly. You wanted my unique biology, Finn taunted, parrying a blast with his blade. Here's a closer look. While Finn engaged the guards, Elia accessed the quantum beacon's control matrix. I'm into their system, she called. The Krell hive ships respond to specific frequency patterns, If I can reverse the signal polarity, whatever you're doing, do it faster, Finn grunted as an energy blast grazed his shoulder. Ambassador Neth, seeing his guards falling to the humans' relentless assault, drew a concealed weapon. Enough of this. Perhaps we only need samples rather than the whole specimen. The ambassador fired, but Finn had anticipated the move. He dropped and rolled, coming up inside Neth's guard. With a savage upward thrust, he drove his blade toward the Mavic's torso, only to have it stopped inches from impact. Predictable human, Neth sneered, a personal shield shimmering around him. Your species always resorts to direct confrontation. You're right, Finn admitted with a dangerous smile, which is why I'm the distraction. Neth's pupilless eyes widened as he realized his error. He spun toward Alaya just as she executed the final command sequence. Signal reversed, she announced triumphantly. The Krell are now receiving new coordinates. The quantum beacon's hum changed pitch, its crystalline structure pulsing with altered energy patterns. On the observatory's main display, the trajectory of the Krell hive ships visibly shifted, away from Ethoria and directly toward the Mavic fleet. What have you done? Neth demanded, his composed demeanor cracking. Given the Krell new hunting grounds, Elia replied coldly. Your own ships. Impossible. The control protocols were designed by scientists who never anticipated someone like me, Elia said. Royal Ithorian education combined with 10 years of learning alongside a human who taught me to think beyond conventional parameters. Neth raised his weapon toward her. I'll kill you for this. No, you won't, Finn said quietly. Before Neth could fire, Finn slashed his own palm with a small blade, then flung his blood directly at the ambassador's face. Droplets passed through the personal shield, designed to stop energy in solid projectiles but not liquid, and splattered across Neth's gray skin. The effect was immediate and horrifying. Where Finn's blood touched, Neth's skin began to bubble and dissolve, the Mavic's screams echoing through the observatory. Nargath venom antibodies, Finn explained dispassionately as the ambassador collapsed. My body produces them naturally now. Apparently they're toxic to Mavic physiology. Another unique aspect of my biology you might have studied. If you'd ask nicely. Aaliyah activated the encrypted communicator. Father, it's done. The Krell have been redirected toward the Mavic fleet. We've captured Ambassador Neth, what's left of him, and have evidence of their entire operation. Well done, Chief Talon's voice replied. The palace is secure. We've detained the remaining delegation without casualties. Return home as soon as possible, and be careful. There may be more Mavic agents in the area. As they secured the surviving guards and gathered evidence from the observatory systems, Elia noticed Finn staring at the display showing the approaching human vessel. Your people, she said softly, coming to stand beside him. Yes, he acknowledged. The first humans I'll have seen in 10 years. She took his hand, her blue fingers intertwining with his. Are you having second thoughts? About us? Finn turned to her, his expression softening. Never. But this changes everything, doesn't it? Earth and Ethoria, connected again after all this time. For the better, I think, she said. Two worlds united against common threats, beginning with us. He pulled her close, kissing her with all the passion and tenderness that had been building between them for years. I was meant to find you, he whispered against her lips. That Nargath attack 10 years ago wasn't an accident, it was destiny. A human concept I'm growing quite fond of, she replied with a smile. One lunar cycle later, the great hall of the Ithorian palace was filled to capacity. Chief Talon stood on the ceremonial dais, resplendent in traditional regalia, as he addressed the assembled dignitaries. Today marks a historic moment for our world, he proclaimed. The Mavic threat has been neutralized, thanks to the courage of Princess Elia and Prince Finn. The Krell hive ships have been destroyed, and a new era of cooperation between Ethoria and Earth has begun. At the front of the hall stood Captain Reeves of the Earth research vessel Horizon, her uniform crisp and formal as she represented humanity's first official diplomatic contact with Ethoria. When we detected the distress signal from this system, we never imagined we'd find not only a new ally, but a lost son of Earth, Captain Reeves said, nodding respectfully toward Finn. The data Prince Finn provided on the Mavics and Krell will help protect countless worlds from similar threats. Finn stood tall beside Alaya, their formal attire complementing each other, his deep blue uniform adorned with Ithorian royal symbols, her flowing silver gown embellished with subtle earth motifs, a gesture of unity between their worlds. And now, Chief Talon continued, we come to the matter of succession. As is Ithorian tradition, the time has come for me to name my heir. He gestured to Elia and Finn. Step forward, my children. They approached the dais together, hands joined in a public declaration of their relationship. Princess Elia, blood of my blood, you have proven yourself worthy in every respect, Talon said proudly. And Prince Finn, though not of our blood, you have demonstrated the finest qualities of both our worlds. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as they realized what was coming. It is therefore my decision that you shall rule jointly after my time has passed, Talon announced. The first dual monarchy in Ithorian history, and the first to unite human and Ithorian bloodlines. Captain Reeves stepped forward. Earth recognizes this union and offers its full support and alliance to Ithoria. Our worlds are stronger together. As formal as the occasion was, Finn couldn't resist leaning close to whisper in Elia's ear. Not bad for an orphan boy who got bitten, saving a princess. Elia's eyes sparkled with mischief. I think you mean not bad for a princess who found a stray human and decided to keep him. Later that night, in the privacy of their now shared chambers, they stood on the balcony overlooking the city, the twin moons casting their silver light across the landscape. I've been thinking about that day, Elia said, nestled against Finn's chest. When the Nargath attacked me and you came charging in with nothing but a homemade spear? I was terrified, Finn admitted, but something inside wouldn't let me run away. That something is what makes humans special, she said. Your courage, your adaptability, your capacity for love despite differences. It's why the Mavics feared and coveted you. It's why I love you. Finn turned her to face him, his hands cradling her face. 10 years ago, your father took in a wounded human boy and gave him a home. Now that boy is a man who's found his true place in the universe, with you. As they sealed their future with a kiss, the stars seemed to shine brighter over Ithoria, a world forever changed by a human boy's courage and an alien girl's curiosity, and the love that had grown between them against all odds. In the royal archives, a new entry was recorded that night. From this day forward, the royal house of Bitten shall bear the mark of earth alongside the traditional symbols of Ithoria, honoring the human whose blood and bravery saved our world twice, once from a beast in the forest and once from the stars themselves.